talking with longtime City Councilor Bill Macek. We're very happy to have him here running for re-election to the Haverhill City Council. Welcome to the program, Bill.
Thank you, Frank. I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
You know, you've been a longtime City Councilor. You started out as a councilor, then made a run for mayor at one point in time, took some time off, then came back, and you are considered, if I'm not mistaken right now, the dean of the Haverhill City Council.
Yes, I take that as a large compliment, and I do think that my time served, there's nothing like experience. So I think I bring some things to the table that I recall. I started when I was young. I started when I called myself a kid, when people used to say to me, "You're such a nice young man."
And they don't say that anymore.
I don't hear that anymore, but people still say nice things about me, so that's good.
Okay.
Yeah, but I enjoy serving. It's really almost a life's passion that working for my city and working for the people that I like to do constituent services. A lot of stuff never even people don't know about except for the people I'm helping.
You know, Bill, when I take a look at one of your advertisements for running for city council, you say you support safe streets, quality education, business development and jobs, improved quality of life, senior and veteran services, affordable housing, low taxes and fees. What person on the planet is not in favor of those things?
Well, those are the things that I strive for. I don't think we should tax to the max. I think we need to figure out what I've always done in my own personal life is get the best bang for the dollar. And I think we can accomplish that in working together.
Okay, when you take a look at things such as, let's do that. Let's go back for just a second. You said best bang for the dollar. There are some opposing points of view on the school committee and maybe the city council right now too. Tell me what your take is on 351 cities and towns. We've got 81 teachers and maybe 8 administrators that decided to take a walk in the previous year. And that seems like a lot. That's
troublesome. But I also want to say that the city council can only advocate. We can't really make any changes in their budget. When we vote their budget at budget time every year,
yep,
the mayor has to appropriate first off. We cannot appropriate one dime. Secondly,
but you have the power to approve and disapprove as a body.
Right. We can cut or we can approve, and we can advocate. And we have become much more of an advocacy for education, which I am fully supportive. I have never cut one dime in my years of service from education. I think education is very important to the future of our city. And I think that the kids that go to our public schools deserve to get a great education. So those are all the things I strive for. But I think, there are sometimes more than one way to skin the cat, as the old saying used to be, or to get things accomplished. And I think that, creative working together. Matter of fact, our current superintendent, I remember when she was coming on board, she had saved Salem literally millions of dollars in their special needs. And so,
how so?
I don't know the exact details of how she did it, but that was part of, what was the message that she was great with special needs, and she knew how to make the best of them,
because special needs
still provide the special
burden.
needs. Yeah, but so that's an example that you can sometimes accomplish things as well, maybe even better, by being creative and knowing how to get the job done, which I do.
When you take a look at the votes that over the past year, let's just use over the past year.
Sure.
That you've done. Do you ever give pause and think to yourself, perhaps that should have gone a different way? Because obviously the council does not vote unanimously on everything.
Right.
And are there any votes that have been taken that you would have liked or would have hoped had gone a different way?
Well, I think sometimes in retrospect you look back and you think you're doing the right thing at that time, and maybe you can evolve. As I remember President Obama used to say that he had evolved when he would change his mind.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think sometimes there are some opportunities to look back and maybe make corrections. I'll tell you, one of the ones that really I think we might have made a mistake on is putting the 2 zones on Amesbury Road side by side for the recreational marijuana. And I did originally support that. I am part of the Administration and Finance Committee. We worked for almost 3/4 of a year trying to find the best location that the state mandated. We had no choice on that. We lost our local authority. The state took it away because we voted 55% in favor of recreational marijuana. They created 2 classes of communities. One class that voted under retained their authority, like Lawrence and Methuen, and they immediately passed moratoriums against recreational marijuana shops. But Haverhill, because we were above 50%, the state 50% when it was voted in, statewide, even though it wasn't part of the ballot question, the legislature got their hands on it afterwards, and they created all these new rules and regulations, and they created the Cannabis Control Commission. All these things are probably important, but on the other hand, they, I think, did something that if it were challenged, and I can't find anybody to get the traction to challenge it. Right. I even spoke to Mass Municipal Association. I spoke to Andy Vargas about it, and he said, geez, Bill, I didn't realize we did that.
In your capacity as a counselor and an attorney?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think that what happened is that they created an A and a B class community. The A class communities retained their local authority. The B class communities were now mandated. They told us that 20% of the total amount of package store licenses that we have in our city needs, that number, which is 6, needs to be reasonably available for the opening of recreational marijuana shops. And I find that distasteful.
Is that predicated upon population, or is it predicated upon land mass? What's the formula that they use?
That's my question. And as I think this through a little more, first off, I think it was probably unconstitutional because you have to treat everybody equally, including your communities, as a state. And they didn't do that. They actually created an A class and a B class. But also, there's another part that comes up in law, and that's that it's arbitrary and capricious. You're bringing up those points. Why is it 20%? Why isn't it 15%? Why isn't it 25%? How'd they come up with that? Yep. And the other thing is, why didn't they let us phase it in? Why couldn't we test 1 or 2 shops? Why did they say immediately, by the beginning of this year, the beginning of January of this year, they said we had to have this in place and available for people to come in. All of these things I question as to why we got them forced down our throat. It wasn't right. I don't believe it's right. And I think that we are now at 4. And as far as I'm concerned, I think we need to push back on the state now and say, we need to see how this works with the ones that we have that are going to open before we go for another 2.
Okay, because we want to discuss some other subjects, I just want to be able to ask you this question too, and that is that it seems as though because Haverhill will have, like 5 shops, or 4. We'll have 4 shops then, but there's a question as far as advertising.
We could have 6.
There's a question of advertising.
Right.
And supposedly the city is in the mix with what the restrictions are and how they can be advertised. There are some people that are suggesting, well, if I advertise this way, I can kind of get under the radar and so on and so on. And this is very interesting dynamics that are involved there, and a lot of people from around the state of Massachusetts apparently looking at the city of Haverhill generally, and the council and the present administration specifically as to how they're going to handle this.
Well, we have asked the City Council of Haverhill, and it was originally brought forward by Vice President Sullivan, to ask our local state delegation to try and change the current regulation that is out there, where 85% of the advertising has to be shown to go toward adults.
Yep.
I don't know how you do that. If cars driving by, I mean, how can you put billboards up?
Yeah.
Why don't we do what they've done to cigarettes
and
alcohol? Can't advertise it on billboards. That's where I think they should do the same thing. You can't see Joe Camel on a billboard anymore.
Get you. Let's move on to a couple of other things. Just have a few seconds left, and that is district and ward councilors. That's been a question raised in several times in the past.
I hear the undercurrent,
yeah.
And that is why I was the one that brought forward a movement and it's now in administration and finance, to try and create the process necessary to do a charter review. That will give us the opportunity to look at that question. I'm not coming down in favor or against it, because it hasn't been studied, but also the data has to be studied. But the
On the table for
the
consideration?
commission, it's on the table for consideration, and it will be coming forward. But ultimately, it won't be a decision of any board or appointed board or any one person. It's going to be a decision of the voting public, because whatever comes out of the Charter Commission needs to be voted on in an election.
Okay, that'll have to be the last word. Councilor William Macek.
Flies by.
Running for re-election. Time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah.
We wish you the best of luck in the upcoming election.
Thank you, Frank. Number 4 is where you start your voting this year. Number 4 on the ballot.
Very good.
Thank you.
We hope that this program has been a point of reference for you. And until next time, my name is Frank Novak, and thanks very much for watching. And remember to vote on Election Day, Tuesday, November 5th.